Hello and welcome. Nearly 100 million books sold in more than 150 countries make him one of the world's best-selling authors. Paulo Coelho considers writing not just a profession, but a path to self-knowledge. Born and raised in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro, Mr. Coelho has walked a turbulent path in life. After a youth filled with rebelliousness, drug use and jail time, he found himself on a spiritual search, during which he pursued Eastern religion, mysticism and black magic. It was these experiences that inspired much of his writing, including the widely acclaimed book The Alchemist. In May 2007, his latest work was published, The Witch of Portobello, which touches on philosophy, religious miracle and moral parable. And don't forget, you can call in with your questions and comments at the numbers on the bottom of your screen. Paulo Coelho joins me now live from Paris. I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you. Let me just say something. I think that any writer, when he does something, he goes for knowing him or herself better. So it is our way to share. But it is as important as a gardener or as a politician or as a taxi driver. I think that it is part of the human condition to share his or her soul with other people.
We're pleased to have you share your ideas and your soul with us here on the show today. And I have to start off by asking about this latest book that's been published, The Witch of Portobello, which a lot of people say is a departure from your previous work, which was more about journeys and travel and self-searching, much more about a personality and character. How much do you feel you've taken a different direction in your writing?
Well, I do think that even if I keep the same style in all my books, I'm free to choose the subjects because I am a person also trying to discover myself. So in the case of The Witch of Portobello, that by the way, I decided to do the worldwide release in Dubai, in the Emirates, because I think it is very important to use art as a bridge. It is a book that talks about our contradictions, talks also about a taboo, that it is the feminine face of God. And I'm very glad because so far the reaction from the readers are really amazing.
It's interesting. Yes, actually, we had an email which I want to get to you, as we had a number of emails come in with questions for you. And this one came from Shaheen Nasser in Haifa, in Israel, who says, in By the River, Piedra, I sat down and wept. You tell the story of a priest who believes God is female. I was astonished. Most of us don't accept this concept. We consider God Almighty male. We prefer to refer to God as male. Why do you think so? What makes people think of God as male or female?
Well, God is not neither male or female, because when Moses asks God, who are you? And God answers, I am. So he's a verb. He, she is a verb. That said, I think that religion for many, many years was used by the society to impose rules and rules and rules. We forgot this part of religion, that it is miracle, intuition, a different comprehension of the world, adoration. So we use the religion to enhance rules instead of using religion to connect with a higher power.
It was interesting you mentioned that you'd released the book in Dubai as a worldwide release to, helps build bridges and so on. And you seem to have that connection with the Middle East, or at least some sort of spiritual connection with the Middle East. I wonder how much of that was influenced from your journey back in 1987 to Egypt when you were inspired with The Alchemist. Well,
to begin with, I think that literature from the Middle East, from Israel, from Europe, when you're a child, you get this imaginary that it is so magical. So I used to think, I'm Brazilian, so a desert, what is a desert? So I used to think about these camels and this 1001 Nights, Arabian Nights, etc. And so somehow you understand the world through writers and writings. That said, of course, when I first went to Africa, and I went to Egypt, then I went to Israel, a 45 minutes flight took 4 hours in the airport for security reasons, but I don't regret. It was a magical experience. It was a magical experience. And then, like it happens in life, you live your life, but you really don't know whether you're going to write about this or that and that. This must be a spontaneous act of creativity. We are talking about this feminine side. A writer uses a lot this feminine side because somehow you have an idea, you want to bring up this idea to your conscious level, but it's not always that this happens. So you get pregnant of life, and at the moment you have to give birth to something, and this comes really from your unconscious. When I went to Egypt, Israel, Middle East, I could never dream that my most famous book, The Alchemist, would be somehow conceived in this trip.
You know, you talked about it's important for a writer or an artist to be able to share their soul. Of course, your background is fairly well documented. The things you went through, which have shaped you. How much of that is really behind you, or how much do those ghosts still haunt you? The involvement in issues that got you imprisoned and tortured, and the drug use and so on.
I am myself and my circumstance. I think that, like a Spanish philosopher uses to say. So who am I? I am a sum of all the experiences that I lived in my life. That said, of course, I don't look back, because if I look back, I may become a statue of salt. So I try to live my life here, but it is the sum of difficult moments, good moments, experiences that I had in my life that brought me here in front of this camera talking to you. You don't live your life in this capitalistic sense that you accumulate knowledge as you accumulate money. No. Life is about the present moment, and you're here now, and then you have an idea or you have something, but that may be a root in your past, but you don't know. So what I try to do is to live my life as full, as intensely as I can.
Now, it's interesting, one of the words I hear most commonly associated with your work, and my wife is one of them who says it, is the word inspiration. And I wonder what it is what you think that ingredient is in your writing that triggers this word amongst people. I mean, famous people and sort of everyday readers, and you have many of them. So I wonder what it is in your work, the ingredient that makes them feel that there's inspiration there.
Good question, because the moment that I have the answer to this question, I'm lost. because then I will try to find a formula. And when you find a formula, you try to repeat the same formula over and over again. But as I don't have a formula, I can be free to write about a journey of a shepherd boy, like in The Alchemist, or I can write about prostitution, like in 11 minutes, or I can write about my own experience in a mental institution, like in Veronica Decides to Die. So what I try to do is to keep the same language, meaning being simple, being direct, go back to the old-fashioned storyteller situation, but not trying to get a formula to write or even to explain inspiration. What is inspiration? Inspiration is when you breathe, when you do like this, and then when you do like this, you bring air, but you bring also the whole universe inside of yourself.
And one of the issues that comes, or one of the things that comes with extreme successes you've had, is extreme criticism too. And I wonder how well you handle some of the comments you hear when people say, for example, that some say you do have a formula, or that your writing is perhaps too simple, it doesn't delve into certain things. How do you handle that kind of stuff?
Well, first of all, I think that my writing is really simple and direct. So in this case, I feel very pleased. Well, when they start to criticize, I think this is part of life. From the moment that you expose your work, you should be ready to get good and bad reviews. And finally, when the review is really, really a little bit tough, okay, do better than I.
How much does your commercial success contradict with the person you are, the person who led that simple life, traveling, literally, out on the road the whole time, and yet suddenly now you're this big brand name as well? How does that contradict with the life you used to have and the things that shaped you?
Well, I don't see any contradictions. Probably I am in a better hotel now when I travel, but I was a traveler since the beginning of my life. I was a hippie, and I could go from New York to Mexico City with $200 in my pocket. So what means to be rich? To be rich means to spend your money in the way that you really enjoy life. So you can enjoy life with $200 in your pocket, or you can enjoy life with a few $1,000s in your pocket, or you can enjoy life or whatever, because really the most important thing is to be healthy and to be loved. Besides that, of course, it does not have any interference, because richness is not the amount of money that you have in your bank account. It is mostly how do you spend it.
We have a caller on the line, Paulo. This is Nasser from Saudi Arabia with a question for you. Nasser, what would you like to ask?
Yes. I just want to ask you, what is the reason behind successful writer to be
Okay, the signal is very, very bad, but I think the part of the question there, yeah, what is basically, what makes a successful writer? What is the recipe for success, Nasser is asking?
Oh, I wish I know. I wish I know, because you have to understand that I fought against all odds. There is no tradition of a Brazilian writer to be translated. There is no tradition of being published. I'm published now, I think, in 56 languages, which is very impressive. So, for example, only in India I'm publishing 80 different languages. In Spain I'm publishing in 4 different languages. So I could never ever dream. I could, I don't imagine myself sitting in my apartment in Rio de Janeiro and say, oh, I want to be such a successful writer, and people had to read my book. Because at the end of the day, who promotes the book is the reader. Why did my book travel so well to such different places like Iran and Israel? My highest readership per capita is Iran and Israel. They have 4.5, every 4.5 house in these 2 countries. They have at least one book of mine. So there is no recipe. From the moment that you try to find a recipe, I think you are lost, because you lose the most important thing in you, that it is your spontaneity. I would also like to use the word innocence. Not innocence in the sense of being naive, but innocence in the sense of being open, or seeing everything as a child, and be amazed and surprised and enjoying, discovering life every single day.
Well, interesting. It was actually 66 languages, just so you know. So you've missed out 10 there. There's a lot more. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you is you talked about...
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
One thing you talked about the issue of the words getting across to people from one culture to another. How much do you worry that the fact you write in Portuguese and suddenly it's in 66 languages, that the subtleties, that the careful structuring of phrases and words that you put together might be lost in the translation?
Oh, well, there are languages that I cannot even read my name. So, for example, Hebrew or Arab, I know that it is me, or Japanese or Malayalam. I know that it is me because I look at the book and I see my photo. Sometimes it is an old photo, but still I know that it is me. But I cannot even read my name, let alone judge the translation. That said, you have to trust people. You have to trust that people who are in this book business, they have a good intentions, and they're going to find the best translation. Right. Because it's up to them also to find a good translator.
We have on the call Farid on the line from Nigeria. Good to hear from Nigeria. Farid, what would you like to ask?
Good evening, Mr. Khan. Good evening, Mr. Coelho. Thank you for...
Hello.
Yes, my question is, I very much enjoy Mr. Coelho's books. My question is, have you been at all influenced by Khalil Gibran?
Khalil Gibran.
Because some of your writings in The Fifth Mountain and The Alchemist, you have some similarity.
Okay.
And your book, Alchemist, has been sold millions of copies around the world. And have you been influenced by Khalil Gibran at all?
Thanks, Farid. We'll let Paulo answer.
Okay, so if you go to MySpace, because I have a site in MySpace, and this social network in internet, and they ask a list of your favorite books, and of course Gibran is one of my favorite writers. When I was in Lebanon back in '86, I went to see his house because I think I should pay tribute to someone who really influenced me a lot. I think he lived a very interesting life, very passionate, and he played a very important role in my way of writing. He was a person who was direct without being superficial.
Well, let's get in a call from Norway. Good to hear from Norway. Gabriel, what would you like to ask?
Yes, boa noite, Paulo. Yes, I'm
Portuguese.
I'm a Brazilian living in Norway.
Okay, go ahead.
And I would like to know, how did you meet your mentor? Your mentor?
Well, I met, of course, because being a Catholic myself and respecting the path of my religion, as I think we all should do. Well, in 1982, I had everything. I had money because I used to be a very successful lyricist, as the Brazilian guest probably knows. So, and I had money, I had love, I had everything that a man can dream of.
Well, Paulo?
And then, but I was not happy. I was not happy because I knew that something was lacking, and what was lacking was my dream. My dream was to be a writer. And then in 1982, I decided to quit everything.
Well, Paulo?
I remember that I had 17. So 1 second.
Sorry, we're just about to shut the clock on us. So I have to ask your forgiveness and ask you to come back, and we can carry on a conversation. A real honor to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us. I'm sorry we have to cut it short there, but don't forget, if you have any thoughts, send us an email to riz@aljazeera.net. Street Talk's up next.